Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Journey. This is The Journey 31. Super excited to share a bunch of things with you guys. Recording this with just my webcam because this is just more convenient. Takes very less time, and time is very important these days because when I'm busy, I'm just not able to make YouTube videos. But trying to get back at it. Today in this episode, I have around 10 things to share with you and super excited to share all of these. Maybe you can learn something from this, maybe you can just get inspired or whatever is the reason you watch the journey videos for. But without wasting any further time, let's get right into it. So if you watched the last episode, which was the journey 30, I was talking about all the registration process, opening bank accounts and everything. And if you remember, I was still in the process of opening a corporate account for my firm, which I registered back in September. And there were a lot of problems in that, which I'll explain why and what you can do if you don't want to have those problems. But finally, fortunately, the application did go through. Not now, of course, in October, but I'm making this video now, so just letting you know. The application did go through. I was able to get the corporate account opened based on only one thing. And so let's get into it, right? What was the problem? So if you want to get GST registered, right, it's pretty simple. You can do it online, you can do it through a CA, whatever. I explained all of those things, I think, in the previous episode. After GST, your firm is registered, but now the second step is opening a corporate bank account. And if you go to any bank, right, it can be any bank, they check for a few things before letting you open an account, right? Because they can't let everyone open an account because it's not a savings account, right? It's a corporate account. They want frequency of transactions, volume of transactions. It can be anything, right? So the things they check for are still very traditional, which is they are not like they haven't updated it for the online or remote businesses of the new age, right? And freelancing, or if you're starting an agency from home, it's mostly a remote business and online business. You don't have the main things they want to check for. So when I was in this process, right, the bank officials came to my house. They said, first of all, where is the board? Typical Indian mentality. Where is the board which has your firm's name and everything? And I said, there is no board because it's an online business. You can check the website, and that's basically what we need. It's not an offline business, so why do we need a board? And then they said, okay, where's your office? So I showed them this room, which is basically my home office. That was also a letdown for them because traditionally you want a shop or a showroom or something like that. I don't know how it's like in other cities, but here I had to go through these very age-old questions, that where are these things. And then they asked for where is stock. I said, this is an online business, I'm telling you for the last time. And then they said, okay, you said you are working with a few freelancers, when you are busy, you outsource their work to them. So where are they? I said, they are all across India. I mean, they are not here physically at the office. It's a remote business. So they were kind of having a hard time to understand these things. And I'm not sure about every bank, but I think most banks still, are very traditional in this matter. And of course, I'm just like, at that time I was just 18 years old, right, when I was getting this account opened. So the age was also a letdown for them, that is this even a legit business or not. So there were a lot of problems. If typically you want to open a corporate account, it should be up and running in a few days or maybe latest 1 week. For me, it took 3 to 4 weeks because I had to go through all of these things. But still, my application did go through. How? It's because I had revenues. It's because I had the money coming in my account, right? So I was using my savings account before that. I showed them all the statements and everything, and all the transactions and transaction volumes and everything. And that was the only thing I was able to kind of leverage to convince them that this is a legit business and I'm worthy of an account. I was feeling pretty dumb because I wasn't even able to open an account in a bank. But anyways, if any of you wants to do this, right, if you are a freelancer or if you are planning to start an agency and if you want to get an account open, please make sure you have strong revenues. Please make sure you are making quite a bit of money so that they can let you open an account, because for them the priority is transactions, volume of transactions, frequency of transactions, whatever it is. And if your account is just sitting idle all the time with no money coming in or no money going out, then, and you also don't have all of those other age-old things, which I talked about, then it can be very hard for you. So some people recommend that you should, as soon as you start freelancing, you should get an account opened. If you can, if you happen to find a bank which is very lenient in these things, maybe you can. But my advice would be just use your savings account for a while. And when you have strong revenues and when you really need a corporate account for something, maybe you just want to separate your personal and business finances and banking and everything, or if you just really need it, only then go for it. And remember, all of those age old things are fine, all of these new things are fine, but the main thing which you have to focus on, which you can totally leverage to convince anyone that your business is legit or whatever, is revenues. If you can show that, then everything is okay. And of course, be confident. And these things are very simple. Some people would be laughing that, oh, what's the big deal in getting an account opened? But for me, it was quite a bit of hassle, man. It took me 3 to 4 weeks and really kind of sidetracked me from the main work and handling clients and everything. But fortunately, it did go through. As I said, focused on the revenues, the statements and everything, the bank statements and everything. They were super strong. Got it up and running in October. And of course, got the card as well. And if you're starting, if you are getting a corporate account open for freelancing or for agency, make sure you get an international card. Most people don't know this, but there's a domestic card and there's an international card. So the card which you get by default or whatever, it's not that you can use it globally. You can only use it in India in most cases. So make sure you get an international card so that you can purchase software products whichever you want to use for your productivity or for anything, right? Like most software products, whatever you use, must be international, right? For any of your fields, maybe it can be design, it can be marketing, whatever. So make sure that is checked as well. And of course, after you get your firm registered, corporate accounts, everything, GST, everything, you have to file returns every month. So I outsourced all the taxes and everything to a legal company, because of course I can't do it. I want to focus on my work, so I outsourced it to them. So again, this will be another thing to keep in mind before you get registered and get everything up and running, because if you're just starting out, if you have no revenues or nothing, you won't be able to afford maybe a CA or a legal company. So as I said, first focus on the revenues part. When you have a lot of revenue coming in, then do all these extra things. Not necessary in the beginning, but once you get all these things done, things get pretty smooth. It's just, since the last, as I said, 7-8 months, I've been literally kicking ass at this game, and I'll be talking about everything, right? How did I get the new clients? And if you've been following me on Instagram, you know how it's been like, right? So this thing, where I left in the previous episode, I hope I've cleared everything out, and maybe some things which you can use if you want to get these things done. So after I got all of these things done, right, I thought, okay, now it's time to get more clients, because see, my service, I'm talking about just my service, not all services. It's a done with you service. It's not a done for you service. Now, what's the difference between the two? It's that in any service, right? So a done for you service is the client just gives you money, you do everything. So the client doesn't have to do anything. They can just pay you the money and then everything you are handling. That's done for you service. There's also certain kind of services which are done with you services. And by done with you services, I mean 80% or maybe 90% of the things are handled by the freelancer, but the client also has to spend 10 to 20% amount of time, right? And for me, in the niche of content repurposing, social media management and stuff like that, it's a done with you service. The client needs to spend maybe 10 to 20% of time and spend time on 10 to 20% of the things, and the rest I handle. So what happens in these kind of services is the churn rate is higher than done for you services, because clients get busy, right? And especially for me, when I'm targeting just personal brands, entrepreneurs or businesses, they get busy very frequently, right? They have other things to do and stuff like that, and if they don't spend time on that, on those 10 to 20% of the things, I can do the rest of the work. So the churn rate is, and by churn I don't mean that once they go away they just never come back. Like maybe they will take a break for a week and then they'll come back and all of that stuff, right? I've been talking about this thing in the last episodes as well. I was talking about that the client goes inactive and then it gets and then they get active and stuff like that. So that was the distinction I was trying to make, because some people weren't able to understand. Two types of services, okay? done for you services and done with you services, and I am in the latter. So the churn was higher than the done for you services, and I thought I have to get a new client now because I can't just wait for them, right? I need consistent work, I need consistent revenues. So I thought, let's start the cold outreach game again and let's start getting some clients. So I cold emailed to a lot of people, and a lot of people ask me, right, how do you write these cold emails? I've shared this multiple times, but I think I'll have to share this again just because some people might not be knowing about it. I use a cold email guide, which is Abhinav Arora's cold email guide. If you can just Google it, you will find it. But I'll also show you on my screen because I'm recording it in OBS, so I can do that. So if I go to Google Abhinav Arora cold email guide, it's awesome, right? I started freelancing. When I started freelancing, I used this and I still use this. So if I can go on OBS, screen share, I hope you can see this now. So just go to Google, search for this Abhinav Arora cold email guide, and there are a lot of things, right? And especially this templates part. There are a lot of templates which you can use. I use different ones in different scenarios, so you can use whichever you want to use. And I hope this was the final time I am answering this question. So used cold email to maybe 8 or 10 people. That's usually, you know, the number of people I cold email to whenever I need to get a new client, because usually I get 1 or 2 replies, or 1 or 2 meetings done, because I also heavily personalize the emails. I also send those things to their maybe Twitter or Insta DM and all those things. And I was able to land a meeting with a potential client from Brooklyn, New York. And the reason I always tell the name of these places, right, that this client is based here, this client is based here, because I'm only targeting the US market, but with the name of the cities, I'm able to remember, acha, Brooklyn, New York wala ye client tha, and Austin, Texas wala ye tha. Otherwise, if I just say USA, everything gets mixed up. So hope you don't mind. So I did this meeting with this potential client from Brooklyn, New York, and it went well. The meeting went well. I showed them, all the samples and stuff, and they were like, yes, let's do this. But from the next day, they just started ghosting me, basically, because I don't know, they got busy or whatever, so they started ghosting me. I followed up like maybe a couple of times or something, but then I thought, let's just give them their space because maybe they are busy or whatever. And after 1 month, they reached out to me that, sorry, we were busy, and let's get started again. But then I said no to them because I took another client, which I'll be talking about now. So I didn't have the bandwidth for that Brooklyn client then. So that was the end of that situation, nothing more. But because that thing happened with this Brooklyn prospect, I closed a new client based in Texas, USA. USA is common, but in Texas, Austin, Texas specifically. So this client I closed in around October or November. So we are still in during those months, right? So around October or November, I closed this client, and probably I was super stoked when I closed this client, because I'll not reveal the name, but it's just awesome, man. He's a pretty reputed person, so nice to have him. And I shared this on my Instagram, if you remember, but can't share it on YouTube. It's the audience here is huge, so I have to maintain some privacy. But this client I didn't close through cold emails, right? He tweeted something that I'm looking for someone like this, and that the description of what the person he was looking for exactly fit what I used to do in freelance, right? Content repurposing, social media management, stuff like that. And one of my good friends referred me in that tweet, mentioned me in that tweet that you should be talking to Ronit Mangnani. Landed a meeting with him, started working, and that's how it usually happens, right? You work for maybe 1 or 1.5 months, and if everything is going well, then you just then you work for the long term. It happened with the first client I closed in March 2020, worked with them till around October or November, and with this client as well, closed him in October or November, and now it's what, May, 1st June, and still working together. So this client, as I said, I didn't close through cold email. He tweeted it. He tweeted something. Basically, my friend referred me in that tweet. Then I cold email. Yeah. So then it's not like a cold email, right? So because someone has already referred me to them, so then I email them that, hey, we had a chat on, or I was referred in your tweet or something. And then I also reached out on Twitter and Instagram, because just to increase the chances of them seeing the message. Landed a meeting and got the work started. And once I get my foot in the door, then it's quite easy, because I know I can deliver, right? So then it was very easy still working with them. That's how I closed this client. A lot of people were asking me, right, how the hell do you reach out to these people? First, you should definitely start using Twitter, right? Not just for freelancing, not just for getting clients, but it's just awesome because the noise is very less, and it's increasing now. Now everyone is getting to Twitter because a lot of influencers are talking about it and stuff. But you should definitely be on Twitter. The noise is very less. You can get in touch with such amazing people if you know that game. It's just awesome. So that's how I closed this client. A lot of people were asking me about this, so I hope this is clear now. And in January, right? So now we are talking about January 2021. I messed up. Keeps happening, right? Whenever you start a business or freelance or whatever, it's not you always keep growing. You mess up sometimes and you learn, and that's how you grow. So what started happening is, this year it's been interesting. I haven't done a lot of cold outreach because I've been getting a lot of referrals, right? And during the start of the year, right, I started getting a lot of referrals, because what happens is, when you deliver a very good service or a good product to a very influential person, or to a person who has a lot of contacts, you have a lot of chances of referrals if you can offer a really delightful customer or client experience, because they will refer you to their friends. Let's say if you are a company and your target customers are freelancers, and I'm a freelancer, so I use your product and I really like it. I have a lot of friends too who are also freelancers, so I will recommend those to them. So that's how this cold outreach, that's how you can get out of this cold outreach game, right? Because believe it or not, cold outreach can get irritating. Sometimes it can get annoying. So once you have worked with a few clients, right, and if you delivered a great service, then they will recommend you to their friends. And once that referrals thing starts, then you can slowly get out of it, right? This year I have maybe sent less than only a few cold emails. So I started getting very big referrals, right? And by very big, I mean big companies, startups, personal brands and stuff like that, right? And there are mainly two stories which I want to share here. And the first one is the one I messed up in. So there's a huge company in USA which helps other companies outside of the USA for their global expansion, right? So if there's a company in Australia, they want to expand to the US, then they help with them. So it's another service-based company, but a pretty reputable company. So I started, I got on a few meetings with them, and I said, yes, we can handle all of your content repurposing things and stuff like that. And the reason I said we is because, again, this time I thought I can't handle all of this alone. So a freelancer was working with me. But as they say, if your systems and your processes are not strong enough, when they go through a stress test, everything falls apart. So let's say if if your product is just very crappy, but you scale it to millions of users, everything starts falling apart, right? Maybe your app starts lagging or whatever. But if you apply that in the service-based context, if your systems, your processes, all of the people who are working with you, if everything is not strong enough, it goes through a stress test when you get a big client. And I didn't know this before I got that client on board, right? So started working with them in January, and they didn't have any proper systems to handle everything. And the freelancer who was working with me also, wasn't like that credible, or maybe didn't have very high level of skills, because these things, especially in service-based businesses, right, these things are very relative, like who's good, who's not. Maybe someone is good for certain things, but when a certain situation arrives, he or she is not able to perform, and a lot of things, right? I'll not go deep into it, but that's what happened. And then we weren't able to deliver, and of course I didn't charge them a single dollar, and we had to drop that client. But one thing I learned from this experience, right, is that you should, and this is how I explain this to myself, right? So maybe it will not make sense to you, but I'll explain. Never build sand castles. That's how I termed this experience, right? And by sand castles, I mean, let's say if your systems and processes are a castle, right? And not an actual castle, but a sand castle. What will happen is, if the wind is very, slow and not very harsh, maybe it will survive that. So by wind, I mean the type of clients you get, the type of services you offer, and the type of delivery you want to, all the quality checks, everything, right? So if that's not very strong, maybe you get just very a client who needs very little help from you, or it's very basic, then it will be able to handle it. So your systems and processes maybe are able to handle that. But when you get a big client and you want to offer them a lot of services with very great timely delivery, all the quality checks, everything, if that and then the wind is very harsh, right? So I'm not sure if this is able to make sense to you, but that's how I thought about this experience. So when the wind is very harsh, the whole castle collapses. So never build sand castles, and by that I just mean, when you are building your systems and processes, make sure they are strong enough to handle anything. If you get a big client, or if you think they are not strong enough, then don't get that client, because that is better than taking on that client and then also taking the reputational damage of not being able to deliver and dropping that client, right? So again, not sure if this is able to make sense to you, because I'm not going into full details. But before you get a big client, make sure you have the infrastructure, make sure you have the systems to deliver in a proper timely manner, and with everything. So basically the bar of standards, right? You have high standards, you can have medium standards, you can have low standards. If in the meetings you talk as if you have the best standards in the world, and then you're not able to deliver, that's the worst thing that can ever happen in freelancing or services agency, because the field is already very competitive. Anyone can do what you want to do, and if you are not able to deliver, you basically have no chance, right? So that's what happened in this case. And then I also got referred to a company called Beard Brand, and I'm sharing the name because I can. If you go on my Instagram, I think there's also a highlight where I was talking to the brand ambassador of Beard Brand and stuff like that. If you don't know about that company, go on Google, check for Beard Brand, you will see it. And with them, this time it was different. It was not it was not any mess up or something. It's just they had very different needs, right? And even though I was in a position to offer those services, I chose not to, because in early stages, right, when you are building your freelance career, you're building your agency, if you start accepting clients which are out of your target market, so everyone chooses a niche, right? If you are just a vanilla freelancer or agency, you don't stand a chance to compete. Everyone chooses a niche, that this is the niche of clients we work with. And if a client outside that niche comes to you, they say, hey, we've heard a lot about you, or this person referred us to you, can you do this thing for us? Even if you can do it, it's better not to, because once you start accepting clients outside of your target market, then it's just you'll not be able to maintain that reputation for yourself, right? That these are the clients we work with. Because if you start accepting clients outside of that niche, then what's the point of having that niche in the first place? So that's why I turned this client down. Of course, got on a meeting with them, but then understood that needs were very different, so didn't take this client as well. So on my Instagram, you can go to the highlights, all these things I talked about. Maybe I have some photos of the meeting, maybe you can see that. But yeah, this was the second client story which I want to share. So the first, for the former one, I messed up. For the latter, they were just outside of my target market. Even though it was a big company, right, Beard Brand and everything, if I got them as a client, it would be like, whoa, superb reputation. But chose not to, because they were just very, very outside of the people or businesses I wanted to target. And the niche is still pretty much the same. It hasn't changed much. So that was about this. And then now this is a good story, because this time I got a referral to a venture capital based startup, or a VC backed startup, VC funded startup basically, in San Francisco, California, which is like maybe the startup hub, right? So I got a referral to this company, and all these referrals were just given to me by the client I closed during October or November, right? Which is why I shared that once you deliver a great service to a person who has a lot of connections, even there are crazy chances of getting a lot of referrals. So this time it was perfect, right? They were exactly in my target market, looking for someone exactly who can do what I used to do, and I'm still doing content repurposing, social media management, all of that. So as I said, this is a VC funded startup in San Francisco, California, a SaaS startup. Basically, if you don't know what SaaS, it's software as a service, and they needed help with their content repurposing, social media management, stuff like that. Got on a meeting with them, everything was perfect, started working, everything went smooth as butter. Like, because that's what happens when you only accept people or businesses who are in your target market, right? So everything went smooth, still working with them, retained them till now. So I closed them in like February. We had a meeting in December, and a short project at that time, but the consistent work started from February. And if you're following me on Instagram, I shared this, right? So this was that story. And let's answer the burning question: how the hell do I get these clients? How the hell do I reach out to them? How the hell do I close these clients, right? I get a lot of DMs about this. So as I said, right, it was not that I cold emailed to these people, because cold emails are great and stuff, but it's always better to go through a shared contact. So if I am A and I want to reach to person C, and person B knows both A and C, that going through that shared contact, which is B, will always have greater chances of getting a meeting with C or whatever, instead of A cold emailing C, right? Like, there's no shared contact in that cold email route, and there's lack of trust, because hey, anyone can cold email you, right? I get a bunch of cold emails per day, even though I'm not even though it's not a big company. So if you want to reach out to big companies, just imagine how many cold emails they'll be getting every day. So if someone can recommend you to them, right, if someone can refer you to them, then it gets very easy to get your foot in the door. And once you get your foot in the door, then of course it's all about how good are you at delivering the service or product or whatever it is. So that's how this happened. The client I closed in October or around November referred me to them. So we had a brief chat on email, got on meeting, and then everything went smooth, started working, and then everything started going super well, right? And still have retained them till now. So that these were all the client stories. I hope I didn't miss anything. The point of these is that when you start your freelance journey, right, or it can be an agency, whatever, initially you have to focus on cold emailing and all those things you do, right? All the grinding you have to do to get clients. But once you start building some contacts, right, once you start building some reputation, and this works better when you are only focusing on a niche, because if you are focused on a very small niche, you have chances of getting referrals. Because if you are, let's say, a vanilla freelancer or agency who is, we do everything, we do also video editing, we also do graphic design, we also do marketing, then there are millions of businesses and people like you, right? So hard to get referrals, because your client might refer someone else. But when you attack a white space, which not a lot of people are taking advantage of, then this gets easier. What gets easier? Once you start cold emailing, you start building some contacts, then you start getting referrals, so you can get out of that cold emails game. And these were just a few stories I shared. I also got a lot more referrals which I had to turn down, because how many clients can I handle at one point? I don't want to stretch myself too thin and then let the quality of service delivery drop. Okay, so these are all the client stories. Already half an hour into this episode, maybe. Anyways, few more things to share too. So I finally started investing, and by investing I mean my investing journey, like investing into equities and stuff like that, because I actually should have started when I turned 18, but I needed money for a few things, right? Mainly I was saving to buy a new computer or laptop. So I thought, why invest this now when I need this liquid? Because there's no point in doing that, right? So like, you invest and then you take it out after 6 months, because I was not trading anyways. I was wanted to just invest and take advantage of the compounding effect. But once I got everything right, so Basically, when I turned 18, I was already making money, but I didn't invest it because wanted to save it, wanted to keep stacking it so that I can buy this PC which I am recording this video with. And then this year finally I started kind of, and I bought this PC previous year. So you might be thinking, why didn't you start investing previous year? It's because I also had to keep some liquid cash in corporate account, because you can't keep your corporate account empty, right? There's a minimum balance you have to keep, and even after the minimum balance, it's good if you have some cash left, right? And also in some savings account. And this year I finally started investing, and I'll not go into the details because I think I can just refer you to the video which I basically which helped me basically start my investing journey. You can just search for Ankur Warikoo, how to start investing in your 20s. Most of you already know him. He's a very famous person in this niche of personal finance. So you can go on YouTube, search Ankur Warikoo, how to start investing in your 20s. That's the strategy I follow, and not just in the equities market, right? Also in crypto, because I'm personally a believer, not in altcoins. I don't know much about them. I don't understand that. But in Bitcoin and Ethereum, I understand those two things. Like, of course, I'm not like understand everything, but I did a lot of research, and I still listen to some podcasts, watch some videos about those two. So I'm personally a believer, which is why I also invest in them. And yeah, that's pretty much it about the investing thing. Started investing this year from like January or February, and it's been going pretty nice, man. I should have started it earlier. But anyways, if you are young, do take advantage of your time. Don't let all of your money just sit idle in your bank accounts. Watch that video which I recommended, right? It will really help you. Then the next thing is I changed the payments platform. So you might remember I used PayPal for the longest time, right? Maybe for 1.5 years I used PayPal. But PayPal is very costly, right? The only advantage I think PayPal has is that you can create an account and start accepting international payments without having a registered business. So the alternatives, which are Stripe and Razorpay, both of those require you to have a registered business. With Stripe, if you don't have a registered business, you can only accept domestic payments. So for me, because clients are international, wanted international payments, and I already had a registered business, so I switched from PayPal to Stripe. Razorpay is also good, I've heard, but I just went with Stripe, right? There weren't like a lot of differences. So I thought Stripe is pretty, reputed in the international market. So let's just use that. And it's pretty nice, man. I didn't know that it had so many features. So with PayPal, right, if you check their invoicing tool, if you check all their features, they are good to get started. I got started with them, but they are not great, right? There are a lot of limitations, and PayPal, of course, is very costly. Their exchange rates are capped, fees is too high. But with Stripe is comparatively cheaper, and Stripe has a lot of features. Like if you have a registered business, if you just give them all the details, and then you start accepting international payments. First, the invoicing tool is great, and my favorite feature about Stripe is the test data tool. So you can turn that on, and then everything you do and every invoice you send or whatever you do will not actually go to the client. It will be emailed to you if you of course enter your email address, and you can test everything, that how how the payment experience is for the client and everything on your own, from your own dashboard or something, right? Might not make sense to you just when you are listening to me, but if you try it out, if you try the test data tool out, and of course the other invoicing tools it has, it's just awesome. And also the statistics and everything, right? So changed payments platform from PayPal to Stripe, pretty happy with it. Don't think I'll be changing this anytime soon, because there is no reason to. But yeah, another thing I wanted to share, if you are a freelancer and want to start accepting international payments, if you don't have a registered business, you can use PayPal, but you can also use Wise, right? It was known as TransferWise before, but now it's known as Wise. And it basically helps clients to pay through wire transfer, right? So funds will arrive directly in your bank account instead of going through a payments platform or something. You can also use that. I have personally never used it, because earlier I was using PayPal, now I'm using Stripe, but you can use that, right? Don't my advice would be, don't get your business registered from the very first day when you have no revenues, because of all the reasons I shared. And I just think it's unnecessary hassle in the beginning. Go with wire transfers, or go with PayPal, or go with any platform, right? You can explore more too. These are just the ones I know about. But once you have your business registered, go for Stripe or Razorpay, or leave PayPal. So because it's costly. So the next thing I want to talk about is scaling through upselling. This thing which I learned really changed my perspective on how to go about scaling your freelance revenues or your agency revenues, right? So what happens is, usually when we think about scaling in a service based context, we think more clients. If we have 3 clients, I want to get to 10 clients. If I have 10 clients, I want to get to 20 clients. But another way to think about it is, if I have 3 clients, how do I increase my revenue with those 3 clients itself, which is basically upselling them on additional services. And when I say additional services, I don't mean, sell them services which are outside of, your services basket, but there are just some things, right? So it's not that every time a client will ask for all of your services. Maybe in the beginning they just want something, and then when you build that trust, and then when you kind of deliver everything in a good way, then you can upsell them also that, hey, we also do this, hey, we also do this. And once you have that trust built, once you have that, a good client experience, once they have a good experience working with you, then they'll be like, oh, you can do this, take it. Because they don't want to go through the pain of again looking for someone, hiring them and all that stuff. Because if you're already doing a good job, you can upsell to them. So that's how I have been scaling this year. With both of the clients I talked about, right? The one I closed in October, November, and then the VC funded startup I closed. And so I've been scaling it through upselling, which is not getting more clients, but how do I help them more? How do I also take care of this? How do I also take care of that? So that's how. And what happens is, when you are working with a client for a few months, right, you are already comfortable with them. You understand how they work, you understand all the systems and processes are already built. So if you can, it's always a better idea to just upsell them instead of going through the whole cycle again of getting a new client, setting up a meeting with them, closing the deal, everything, and setting up different systems and processes for them, because of course their inputs might be different, their needs might be different, and everything. So I think this short insight might help some of you who are thinking of how you increase your revenues. It's not always by getting more clients and then going insane handling all of them. Sometimes you can just upsell them, right? So the last thing I want to talk about in this episode is the things which I learned by working with US clients, right? Last year when I started working with US clients, right, personal brands, business brands, and everything, Abhinav Arora, who wrote that cold email guide which I showed you in this video, I'm in touch with him on Instagram. We chat sometimes. So he told me that it's a great idea to start your career by working with Western startups, because they are ethically more open, and you can grow a lot, like intellectually, or just based on the knowledge when you work with them. And at that time I thought, sounds about right, but I didn't realize how true it was back then, right? Now I do. It's just crazy how much you can learn from them, because initially when you're just getting started, it might be low, it might just be you delivering the service and getting paid. But once you build that trust and everything, and once you get your foot in the door, right, and this time by foot in the door I mean you get in personal contact with them. Let's say you start getting on a lot of meetings with them, or you get on the Slack channel. I personally use Slack now to communicate with clients instead of email, because it's just better, it's just faster. If you know about Slack, it's what it is, right? Once you get close to them, right, then you can start learning a lot from them, that how they are handling their business, how they are growing their company, especially with like both of these clients. Actually, I was about to say, especially with the VC funded startup I'm working with, seeing all the things, how they are kind of thinking about competition, how they are growing, but also with the other client, there's just a lot of things you can learn from them. And I've been learning about mainly about differentiation, which is in the age of internet, right? Everything is so commoditized that whatever you are doing, a lot of other people are doing as well. But when you are, when anyone visits your website, or when you talk about yourself, you say as if you are the only one doing what you're doing, right? And differentiation mainly talks about how to stand out from the competition, how to kind of just be different, right? Because being different is the only way you can win a lot of the market share, right? Otherwise people will be like, if everyone can do the same thing, why not just go with the cheaper option, right? And also learning a lot of things about brand building, which is in the long term it's only a brand which can get you asymmetrical returns, asymmetrical profits. Because as I said, if everyone can do what you're doing, then it's just you're always on a tightrope, right? You're always trying to compete and everything. But when you build a good brand, people want to buy your service or your product, even though there are other alternatives, just because the emotional connect they have with your brand, right? So I've also started putting efforts in brand building. Of course, the brand of the firm which I registered. So I'm building the brand with the business name, not my own name. So all of that content will be not going on my social channels and everything, because I want to keep my personal brand and business brand separate, because the two audiences are very different. With my personal brand, the audience is just 18 to 24 age group people in India, and the type of people which the business brand targets is very different. Personal and business brands in the US market, right? So two very different audiences. I thought let's just keep it separate. So putting a lot of efforts in there as well. It's still in stealth mode, so I will not reveal anything or share anything on my socials. Once I think it's good enough, then I might, but don't want to do it now. But that's pretty much it for this video, right? That's everything which I've been doing these last 7 or 8 months. And you might have noticed that I was inactive on almost all the social platforms, right? I used to put out something, every now and then, but mostly I was inactive. It's because these things were so interesting and I was so, kind of in that deep work zone. I thought I want some space, right? So that I can make a lot of revenue and, work with these amazing clients, learn a lot about that. And I just needed that space to kind of focus on these things, because I can't handle too much every day, right? There are only so many hours in a day. If I also do social media, if I also work with clients, if I also work on the brand of the business, if I also work on all these other things, it's just a lot of context switching. And if you don't know about context switching, just go on Google, search context switching, search what it is. It's basically when you switch a lot between different tasks. So let's say during a day you do 10 to 15 tasks, like you do first task for, let's say, half an hour or 45 minutes, then you jump to the next, jump to the next, jump to the next. Not task, actually, I should say thing, right? So maybe for 1 hour you work on your business, then for 1 hour you make a YouTube video, then for 1 hour you do something else. It's just a lot of context switching. You can't get in the flow state, right? You can't work deep. So I just wanted to be in that zone so that I can deliver very well to all these people. If you've been following me on Instagram, you know the kind of mood I was in, right? But now I think I have found a solution to this context switching thing, which is very interesting, because I recently figured it out and I thought, okay, let's try it, which is why you are seeing this video now. Otherwise, it might have been delayed further. And that is to, instead of like all of the things you want to do during your, like in your time, right? Basically, all of the things you want to allocate your time to, you don't do everything on one day, but you set weekly goals. So we are wired to think about daily goals, right? That if I want to achieve this, I have to spend these many hours on this every single day. So if I want to grow my freelance business, I have to spend these many hours every single day on this. Or if I want to grow this, I want to spend these many hours every single day on this. But if you change that to weekly goals, so let's say you can keep the daily goals same, but you kind of just multiply it by 7, and then you think, okay, what's the weekly goal then? And then you allocate certain days to it instead of hours during a day, right? So it can be like if today is Tuesday, I'm just focused on YouTube. I don't want to do anything else, because I'll be recording this video, then editing it, uploading it, and whatever. And let's say Wednesday, Thursday, Friday can be for freelancing, Saturday can be for building the brand of the agency, Sunday can be for other miscellaneous things which just pop up every now and then, which happens with everyone. Monday can be for meetings, if I have to do some Zoom meetings with clients, or any other type of work. So if I allocate my time to all of these things in this way, two things happen. First, I'm able to achieve the weekly goals without context switching, because now there are different days, right? So let's say if today's Tuesday, I'm just focused on making this video and putting it out, right? So it's not, I don't have that hurry of okay, sham ko mujhe ye kaam karna hai and I have to get this done quickly. So there's no context switching. And when you allocate different days to it, right? And I think Elon Musk also follows this, like certain days are just for SpaceX, certain days are just for Tesla, instead of mixing up everything on a single day. I read it in an article, not sure if it's how he manages his time now, but it's kind of been working well for me. So maybe you can try it as well, but let's see how it goes. That's pretty much it for this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something from it. And I hope that you like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, because I'm actually very bad at mentioning all these call to actions, right? I was about to end this video, but fortunately I remembered. So if you learned something from this, make sure you do all of those call to actions. And if you really like this video, maybe you can share an Instagram story about it. Tag me, I'll definitely reshare it, and I'll see you in the next episode.